Now, India has reported 58,097 fresh COVID cases in the last 24 hours, 55% higher than yesterday. Now, Omicron tally in the country has also risen up to 2,135. In fact, as COVID cases continue to surge across the country, it's metros especially which have seen the biggest surge. Delhi, Mumbai, Bengaluru and Kolkata are all seeing a huge spike in these cases. Now, stringent curbs have been imposed by the several states. There is a weekend curfew that has been imposed in Delhi and Bengaluru. I'm joined on the broadcast by Dr. Subhash Salunke, who is the Senior Advisor, Public Health Foundation of India, and he's also a member of the COVID-19 Task Force. Dr. Salunke, thank you so much for joining me on the broadcast. First of all, let's talk about the preparedness. Is India ready for this massive spike that it's witnessing?
As a matter of fact, the way the doubling is taking place literally in 24 to 48 hours, that is going to be a very, very serious challenge. Even though the preparedness, by every state is an indication that we were anticipating the third wave. From that perspective, things are definitely much better than what they were during the second wave. So with that limited kind of an framework, we can say that yes, we have made preparations. But the most important part is going to be that the positive part, I can say that majority of the Omicron cases will not require hospitalization. That is the anticipation. So balance of managing cases at the home and then those cases only who really require hospitalization. If we are in position to segregate them properly in each and every metro, in each and every district, I think we will be in much better position than what we were during the second wave, when the second wave was peaking.
So, Dr. Salunke, you are saying it as a surety that hospitalization will be less. We have seen it so far, but with this COVID-19, the novel coronavirus, nothing is absolutely certain. So, we've already spoken about the COVID infrastructure. You have got your teams in place across the country who are taking care of all of this so that, we are fully prepared. What do you have to say about these curbs that have been put in place by various states in the wake of the growing numbers? Because numbers have suddenly spiraled out of control.
Absolutely. And these curbs and restrictions are obligatory. There is no choice. As a matter of fact, going to the extreme end of, lockdown, we need not go to that particular stage as of now. But at the same time, restrictions are must because unfortunately, the individual responsibility demonstrated by people themselves isn't there. The way, people are moving around, they are gathering together, their unnecessarily congregation is taking place. And the worst part is our political parties. Just before this particular news item, you were demonstrating that how the various political parties are really behaving irresponsibly and not allowing, inviting literally thousands and lakhs of people for their political gains. And that's very unfortunate for this country. Why do you want to continue with such a huge political rallies, even though so-called those elections are going to be there? Why can't you find alternatives? Why is it not possible for every major political and minor political party to ensure that safety of the people is ensured? You go ahead and do your politics and you want to...
But that is when the individual responsibility also comes into play, Dr. Salunke, that you've been talking about, because people also need to decide for themselves and they are seeing the numbers. Their lives are in their hands. They should actually avoid not just these rallies which people are attending. Obviously, these are political gains, like you rightly mentioned. The shops are full of people, even without masks. People just roam around here and there. So that's something that needs to be checked.
Absolutely. And as I was indicating earlier also, that it is definitely possible for individual to protect himself or herself, which is very easy. Wearing appropriate mask appropriately, if you have to come out of your home, is the first right step or in a right direction. That is first and foremost. Number two, Ask question, do I need to go out of my home? Is it essential that I have to step out? So second question. Third, if at all I have to go, how do I ensure that I do not, go to a gathering or people who are coming together, and particularly in an enclosed space? Please remember, if you are in an enclosed space, the possibility of your catching virus, or if you are carrying virus, if you yourself is a spreader, the possibility of such transmission is much higher than an open air. So if we follow all these precautions, I'm pretty certain it is quite possible for us to avoid such kind of a thing. But please remember, now is the stage where a lot of people are already carrying the virus. They do not know and they are transmitting because they are not using or taking basic precautions. We are at a very peak stage, or early but a peak stage, and this is going to continue. So it is not going to be easy for government, for administration to stop the spread of the disease. It is already community transmission has taken place in some of the cities. That is quite obvious. So under the circumstances, now what we need to do, transmission is taking place. How do we reduce that transmission? Two, those who are already harboring this virus, how do we ensure that those are showing symptoms to manage at their residence, at their home? And three, those who are likely to demonstrate little, complications or the further levels of the signs and symptoms, only those are to be treated in the hospital. And out of that, only those who are having severe comorbidities, progressing towards complications, need to be admitted in ICU, and then further steps about ventilation, etc. So I think at this critical juncture, the administration and people who are at the helm of the affairs will have to really find out how do we balance this act. Majority need to be managed at the home level. Minority who require to be admitted need to be admitted so that we avoid deaths. So please try and understand. Now this number of 54,000 tomorrow is going to cross beyond 54,000 for sure. Now this number is not going to be of the great value. So you detect more cases, you test more people, you get more cases. So it is foregone conclusion that you are going to get large number of people either infected or those who are infected. That is first and foremost. What do we do that? Earlier part, we have already indicated how individuals and communities can try and prevent or minimize the transmission. And next point is going to be, how do we ensure people do not die? And before that, we need to ensure the entire health system, hospital administration, hospital management is geared up, which is now being done. So I think at this stage, on all fronts, if we properly, without getting panic, there is no point in just generating, 50,000 cases, 80,000, they are going to be there. It is actually, if we were to initiate additional testing, it is much higher. Now you can multiply this 50,000 by 3, 4, 5 times. No doubt about that. So number is not going to be something by which we should get very scared, but certainly we should get anxious as far as the management part is concerned. And if we do that, we will not lose lives. As a public health person at this juncture, my anxiety is, how do we ensure that many people do not get complications and do not die? That is the basic part of it. Eventually, if we ensure this for next...
So, Dr. Salunke, I just wanted to understand this because Maharashtra has seen a record number of cases as far as this COVID spike is concerned. In fact, the government there was mulling whether we should go ahead and impose a lockdown. However, it was decided against that. Do we or should we go ahead and impose a minor lockdown or a semi-lockdown kind of a situation? Because, as you mentioned, people who are in fact getting tested because it's a community spread are ending up testing positive.
Very true. As far as I'm concerned, as a public health person, my opinion as of now is there is no need for across the board lockdown in the state or in a district. This is absolutely must. because it is not only create panic, it will also generate a very negative impact as far as economy is concerned. So there is no need. Definitely there is no need for across the board lockdown throughout the state. That is first and foremost statement that I want to make. Number two, localized micro level management of ensuring that whether clustering is taking place, the transmission is taking place, and that is where the kind of a lockdown kind of an restrictions need to be put. But at the same time, overall, generally in the state, in the country, not only Maharashtra state, in every country, every state, look at the way Maharashtra is conducting large number of tests and reporting more cases. There are states in this country which are not conducting such number of tests, and for them there are no cases. I mean, that is a false sense of security. So let us one entire country as at the risk. Every state, every metro, every city is at the risk. No doubt that it is not only Maharashtra, Karnataka, Kerala, and as if UP, Bihar, and Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh are not at risk. No way. Every state is at risk, and from that perspective, localized management, particularly of the metros, and also monitoring of the rural area is going to be critical. Four major things. One, how many people are getting admitted into CCC level? Two, how many of them, that is the bed occupancy. Number two, how many of these are requiring oxygenation? Three of them, how many of these are requiring ventilation? These three need to be monitored, not daily, hourly, and also monitor case fatality rate, total number of admission and total number of deaths. And let us see that. If it is at a low level and constantly it remains low level for next 1 month, that is from today till I think I'll be very comfortable. That doesn't mean that there should be complacency, but these four parameters are going to be of critical most important from the perspective of outcome of this particular pandemic for this period, short period. We are talking about Omicron dominating, right. But at the same time, please do not forget, we have sizable number of Delta circulating in our country. And number two, in spite of the fact that we are very proud to say that we have done 1.5 billion people being vaccinated with one dose, but 60-70% of the people with two doses need to be achieved. At the same time, that number who have not taken any vaccine is quite sizable. And also, please remember, now that we have started for 15 to 18, which is a very positive step of vaccination of the children, but below that, also there is a large number of susceptible population. So with all these things put together, the fact remains that we have to have a micro level management. It will be at the block, at the district, and then state. So at this juncture, I feel none of the state need to go for total lockdown as a state, but certainly at the, say, city level or metro level or a district level, restrictions are going to be must. It is obligatory for us to ensure that unnecessarily, political gathering, religious gathering, marriage gathering, this gathering, that gathering must be stopped, must be reduced. No choice. You have no choice.
Right. Very important insights there by Dr. Salunke. I'm also, Dr. Salunke, thank you so much for all that. And please stay on with me. I'm also now joined by Dr. Yatin Mehta, who's the chairman, Medanta Institute of Critical Care. Dr. Mehta, you heard Dr. Salunke there. And he also is talking about the infrastructure that is obviously a must when it comes to the situation that we have at hand. And it's an unprecedented situation, but we have been in it for almost 2 years now. So do you think now is when the hospitals are aptly and adequately prepared to actually take in the cases which would require hospitalization and critical care?
See, no precaution is good enough. Okay, first let us realize that we are much better off than what we were during the Delta wave. We have oxygen supply is at the moment adequate. We have more number of ICU beds. We have better infrastructure. No question about that. More hospitals have opened. But also this, as what is being said, and which I would partially agree, that this is more transmissible disease variant, but maybe less severe disease. But in the absolute terms, that is true in percentage terms. But in absolute terms, when the number explode, then we may be chasing a tail again. So I think let us not be complacent, as Dr. Salunke has already said so, and we have to be prepared for the worst. Hope for the best and be prepared for the worst. So we must start preempting start doing damage control, preemptive damage control. So that means that we do not let the mask down, which is happening in many parts of the country. I can see people roaming around without masks. They should be severely fined instead of just finding people who are traveling by cars. And vaccination program should be increased, also including for the healthcare workers and the vulnerable population. Why wait till 10th? If we have the infrastructure in place, I think we should expedite it.
Right. Dr. Mehta, Dr. Salunke was mentioning a very, very important point regarding the Omicron variant. And while we are obviously busy looking at the Omicron variant, we do not have to forget the Delta variant, which actually created a lot of menace, in 2021, May, June, July. We've seen what happened in the second wave. Now, how is this different, and do you think these together could actually go ahead and make things more critical for the medical fraternity as far as the cases are concerned?
See, that is what I was saying. The South African initial data has been published now in NEJM, where the wave, the fourth wave which came in South Africa of the new variant, compared to the Delta variant, the severity was less, but the transmissibility was much more. The hospital length of stay was less, the mortality was less. But again, as I said, what do the numbers mean? In terms of percentage, it means nothing. Because if you have absolute numbers, India is a 1.3 billion. South Africa is a much lesser population than India. So if India with 1.3 billion, the numbers go up exponentially, then we may be in difficult times. So we have to be sort of be ready for this, for the eventuality. I mean, and also the South African wave, fortunately, is subsided pretty fast. Within 6 weeks, it subsided. So if we are able to stick out till, I think, end of February, better days may come. But we have to be prepared for the worst.
Right. Also, Dr. Mehta, when it comes to testing, like Dr. Salunke also was mentioning, anybody who's going about getting their RT-PCR eventually is turning out to be positive because of the community spread of the virus. How safe and how, critical are these antigen tests also, which have been put in place so that we can get immediate results when it comes to the Omicron variant?
See, antigen testing is a rapid test, but it can have false negatives also. I got a few patients who were tested in my emergency antigen negative, and next day they turned out to be RT-PCR positive. So we have to keep that in mind. But yes, for a rapid testing, that is a good test to have. Also, I must emphasize here that the gene sequencing which we are doing, the number of labs are very limited. The tests take too long to come. So I think the government should help the tertiary care hospitals to do the gene sequencing. At least we know that is Omicron and we know where to isolate them. Instead of waiting for 3-4 days, by that time already the bird has flown. So I think we must increase the capacity for gene sequencing so that we know the turnaround time also should be shortened, so we have a faster report and more easily accessible rather than sending it to only a few limited labs. We have to be, on a public health point of view, Omicron should be identified pretty fast.
Right. Dr. Mehta, thank you so much for all those details. I'm also now joined on the broadcast by Dr. Sunila Garg, who is the Professor of Excellence Community Medicine at the Maulana Azad Medical College in New Delhi. And she's also a member of the Lancelot Commission and the COVID India Task Force. Dr. Garg, thank you so much for joining me on the broadcast. You heard Dr. Mehta over there. He's speaking about the genome sequencing and the importance so that we can actually decipher what are the cases that we are looking at, whether it's the Omicron variant that we are having to deal with in a patient or whether it's the Delta variant. How important is this?
It is important from the perspective of the hospital management when it comes to looking at the guidelines, and it will also give us what kind of variant we have. But more important it is, you see, now as per the latest CDC guidelines, what we have to keep in mind is that since we are getting a lot of flu cases as well during this period of time, so we must presumably believe that most of the flu cases would be resulted as a result of Omicron, because you see primarily the presentation of both Omicron as well as flu is going to be almost similar. That is one thing which we have to keep in mind. And what Dr. Yatin also really pointed out was that if, we must ideally do RT-PCR, but considering the strain on our existing, healthcare systems, we do have to see that whether we can, do the rapid tests, so that will also help us. So it is going to be very, very important, but it is definitely from a public health perspective, it is very important to know what are the circulating strains, particularly at this point of time when we do have, Delta variant, which is being replaced by Omicron and which is being faster replaced by Omicron. So that is one of the important things which you have to keep in mind. So we have to see that what are the circulating strains as of now. Accordingly, we have to take actions, because like yesterday we saw another strain which was there, IHU in France, but that is also, caused substantial number of cases. But as of now, it is not much dangerous, but we do have to be vigilant, and we do have to activate our, under a consortium of testing for for consortium of testing. When we are looking at our genomic sequencing, we have to really update the facilities to the level of medical colleges as well.
Right. Dr. Garg and Dr. Yatin, thank you so much for joining me on this broadcast and bringing us up to speed with all the latest when it comes to the growing number of COVID cases and the infrastructure that has been put in place in the country to actually fight this virus, and also the Omicron variant, which is a live threat in the country right now. On that note, we are slipping into a very short break here on Mirror Now. News continues on the other side.